iPadOS 18 added a bunch of different customization options, so I figured now's as good a time as any to cover my home screen setup. This video is sponsored by Paperlike. Let's get into it. With focus modes, you can have a bunch of different home screens set up and quickly switch between them with different layouts, apps, and widgets. But I just have one home screen. I found having multiple home screens to be a bit frustrating. Nothing was ever where I wanted it. The home screen setup of my iPad is about seeing a summary of my day. This can be tasks, appointments, weather, media, whatever is going on. I keep all the apps that I regularly use in the dock. I even turned off the recent apps. Using this method on a 13-inch iPad Pro gives you 20 spots for different icons in the dock. You could do this by going into Settings, Home Screen and App Library, and turn off Show Suggested and Recent Apps in Dock. Now, for the apps that aren't in the dock, I often launch them via Spotlight or sometimes the app library, but usually Spotlight. I can shift-click on these apps to add them to my current stage in Stage Manager. The wallpaper I am currently using is one I created for a challenge on my new podcast, Comfort Zone. This is a long exposure shot of a starry night. It was a handheld shot, so it's not the sharpest image, so I went in and added some blur, and this makes for a really nice natural home screen background. I also have some wallpaper packs for other images I use for different focus modes as well. I did a deep dive into all of the home screen customization options in my iOS and iPadOS 18. I will link to that and everything else in the description below. I'm a big fan of the new dark mode home screen option. This uses dark mode app icons if available. If not, it either inverts the app icon or tints it to be a little bit darker. The only thing this doesn't work for is progressive web apps. These are basically web pages in an app wrapper. For example, I use the PWA for Airtable because the iPad app is horrible. PWAs are a decent option for web app services. You can make these by using the Add to Home Screen option in Safari. But here's the issue. The Airtable icon stays the same bright white app icon, and I want to add it to my dock. So what I did is I created a shortcuts launcher for the PWA using X callback URLs. Then assigned a custom icon to it. This way I can get my dark mode icon for the web app. I also used the same method to replace the Files app icon with Finder. I can't stand the Files app icon, so I used a shortcut that uses the Open App action and gave it a custom icon. You can still drag this app icon into Stage Manager or Split View to use multitasking. At the other end of my dock, I have my Action Cut shortcut. This is a shortcut with a menu of other shortcuts I used often, but it adapts to what focus mode I'm in, so it only shows me relevant shortcuts. I can access it even when I have other apps open, especially when I don't have a keyboard attached. On my home screen, I mostly have widgets. I treat my home screen like a dashboard. I want to see useful information about my day, plus the ability to do some quick common actions. In fact, when I work from my desk, I keep my iPad off to the side in a stand. I use the external monitor support, but leave the iPad's display alone. This way I can always see a dashboard of my widgets. Now, I do keep the passwords and calculator apps on the home screen for quick access when I'm working at my desk. I often open them on the iPad screen and just have them off to the side when I'm working on something. The first widget on my home screen is World Clock. The iPad does always have the time in the top left corner, but it's small, and I'm in my 30s now. With World Clock, I can have the time nice and large right on the home screen. I use this widget just to show my current time zone. So if I'm traveling, it will adapt. I use World Clock over the built-in other clock widgets for a couple of reasons. One, the first-party app doesn't have a dark mode digital clock option for some reason. The second, I hate analog clocks on computers. It just seems dumb and kind of pointless. Now, I have a second World Clock widget in this stack. This is for showing me the time zone of my two co-hosts for my podcast, Comfort Zone. Matt is in Chicago and Neeleon is in France. Carrot Weather is my second widget. Now, I'm not much of a weather nerd, but I am a nerd, so that kind of makes me a weather nerd. I like knowing the conditions, especially when I'm working from home. If it's cool, I like to open up the windows in my studio and office just to let some fresh air in. I also use the Carrot Weather widget to show what the chances of rain are in the area, and if so, how much rain will come crashing down. Carrot Weather has one of the most customizable widgets out there, from changing what data is displayed to the theming. The actual app itself is very customizable as well, including the layout, theme, personality, and more. This video is sponsored by Paperlike. Paperlike is one of my all-time favorite iPad accessories. It's a matte screen protector that gives you a textured feeling when you're using the Apple Pencil. Paperlike uses proprietary nanodot technology. This is engineered to add resistance and improve feedback when using the Apple Pencil over the out-of-box experience, giving you that pencil and paper feeling. Paperlike is a matte screen protector, so it also reduces the glare from lights or the sun on your screen, making it the perfect accessory if you work outdoors. Now, this is similar to the nano texture option for the new iPad Pros, but it's not just limited to the 1 and 2 terabyte option of the high-end iPad Pro. You can put a Paperlike on any iPad. Plus, this gives you that paper-like feel when using the Apple Pencil, which the nano texture option does not. I have Paperlikes on both of my personal iPads. The new version of the Paperlike focuses on improving clarity of the display, which it does a great job at. Paperlike also sells a ton of different iPad accessories like a cleaning solution and a smart folio cover. I'm gonna put some links in the description below to where you can go check it out. My thanks to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. I made a productivity apps video earlier this year, and in that I said I was moving away from Fantastical after their recent price hike. But I've made some changes to the way I work, and I am working a lot more out of my calendar now. I kind of just missed Fantastical. Between the natural language input, calendar sets, especially when combined with focus mode, and of course the interactive widget. It's just a very good app, but pricey. I'm using the event list and calendar widget. This shows you your calendar events for the day, but there's also a month view here as well. The best part about it is it's interactive, so you can jump around and see events for various days. This way, if you need to quickly know what's going on a certain date, you can. You can tap on the month and year to jump back to the current day. On the calendar view, the highlighted dates are the ones with events. You can check when you are busy just by a glance because it has a heat map. The darker the color, the more events you have for that day. With Fantastical's widget, you can tap on a specific entry and jump right into the details of that appointment. Sounds like a simple thing, I know, but it's really nice for getting to links to a Zoom meeting or an address to a meeting location. Like I mentioned, I've changed up the way I've been doing a lot of work lately. I'm now using Airtable as a place to manage video projects, sponsorships, and expense tracking. For the first two, I set up due dates for those. With Airtable, I have a calendar view with my production schedule. In Airtable, you can get an external link to that calendar and subscribe to that calendar in something like Google Calendar or iCloud. This way, I have my whole production timeline in Fantastical and can see it right from the widget as well. For a long time now, I've been using Things as my project manager, and I've kind of outgrown it. It's still very good for that kind of stuff, but my needs have kind of surpassed what that app could do. I need a place where I can have a proper database and link different records together, plus the visual nature of a calendar helps me lay out what I'm working on and when. But Things is still very much my task manager. Everything that isn't video project related goes in here. I use the Things widget to show all the tasks and projects that are due and the stuff I need to work on that day. This can be anything from washing the car to working on Comfort Zone to another project. Of course, the widget is interactive, meaning I can check off tasks without having to jump into the app. Things is my kind of everything app. I use this to track stuff from big projects like grocery lists to household projects. I completely live out of this app. My only wish is that it had a calendar view, so I was able to lay out projects and tasks into that kind of view. If that was the case, I would absolutely go back to Things being like my full-time everything project manager. On my home screen, I use the large widget because some days my list can be quite full of tasks. Other days it could just be a couple of items, but I want to make sure I'm able to see everything I need to do that day from the home screen. The 4 icons next to the widget column are shortcuts. They all use the Actions for Obsidian app. The first one opens my Launchpad document. This is a document with everything I am currently working on. It combines both data view and linking individual notes together. This note is always pinned open in Obsidian. The second shortcut opens my daily note. If a daily note hasn't already been made, it then makes it. I use daily notes as a scratch pad and a place to just kind of write out thoughts. The third shortcut appends text to the scratch pad area of my daily note. This is just for adding a little bit of text that isn't a full note or task. I use this like how a lot of people use a notepad or sticky notes on their desk. On the right side of the screen, I have more widgets. I broke my widgets up into 2 different columns. The left is my important summary information. The right is some interactive and useful widgets, but not critical stuff like the other side. iOS and iPadOS 18 fixes one of my biggest annoyances about Apple's widgets. No more generic red background for the music widget. It now matches the album artwork. And if you're using the dark mode theme for the home screen, it favors the darker colors. There is no skip or go back controls, but there is play pause. But ever since the new Magic Keyboard came out with the function row, I don't really need the skip and go back buttons on a widget. However, I do wish I could favorite a song right from the Apple Music widget. Next up is Widgetsmith. This has to be one of my all-time favorite widgets. The developer brought back CoverFlow from the classic macOS 10 days. I have this set up with some of my favorite playlists and albums. This way I can just start those from a touch of a button right from the home screen. In this widget, you can cycle through different versions of the music you have added. There's also a few customization options for this widget as well. I set it up so that the artwork has rounded corners and reflects to make it look like classic CoverFlow. Widgetsmith has a lot of useful widgets in it, but CoverFlow is the best. Next up is Dark Noise. This is my background noise app. As somebody that struggles focusing, this is a really important app for me to have. Blocking out the world around me is important so I can just stay focused. Sometimes music can be a bit too much for me. With Dark Noise, I was able to build out different scenes. This way I can mix sounds together and not just have generic rain sounds playing all day. In the widget, I have set up some of my favorite scenes and sounds so I can just start playing them right from the home screen. I use this during admin work, writing, and even editing photos. Overall, just a really useful utility to have. Overcast is another widget I have in the stack. This is specifically for resuming podcasts quickly. Overcast just got a massive rewrite. Overcast widget itself is pretty basic. It allows you to pick from a handful of podcast episodes and just start playing them. But for me, this is exactly what I need from it. The last widget in this stack is Sequel. This is the app I've been using for all of my media tracking lately. I had been using Sofa for movies and older TV shows, TV forecasts for upcoming shows, and game tracks for games. It was all just a bit much. I just put everything into Sequel. For the widget though, I just have it set up to show me what's next in my watch queue. I just like to be able to quickly see a recommendation when I'm sitting down to watch something, if I'm eating lunch or whatever. I do have the notifications set up to alert me when something new from my list has just been released. This could be a new episode of a show, movie, or game. The next stack of widgets is for managing my home. Parcel is my delivery tracking app. I get a lot of stuff shipped to me. I need to know when it's coming in. The widget itself is pretty simple. It's just going to show the next package that's going to be delivered to my house and how many days away it is. The second widget in this stack is the Home widget. This is a third-party app dedicated to making a better widget than the built-in Home app widget. What I like about this one is I can control objects like my garage and thermostat from here. This is not something that can be done with the first-party widget. It's also extremely customizable. There are various sizes, but mostly I just want to be able to toggle a couple of lights, my garage door, and thermostat from here. I'm currently rebuilding all of my smart home stuff because I had some issues after I moved and it's just been a mess. So not everything's set up perfectly in here, but I've been using this app for a while now and it works flawlessly. The last widget on my home screen is the first-party battery widget. Batteries is a great widget to have on your iPad. You can connect a lot of different accessories to an iPad, and this displays the battery life for it. My only real issue with this widget is you can't customize it. I would love the ability to say like, always show the Magic Trackpad in here, or always show my AirPods Max. It's just whatever connects to the widget first. I'd also love the ability to remove the iPad's battery life from this widget as well, given that's in the top right hand corner all the time. Now this widget also supports third-party devices like third-party headphones and keyboards and things like that, so you can see the battery life for them as well. I use different focus modes to trigger automations, change wallpapers, and put my devices in different states. I always have a focus mode active. For me, focus modes are about managing notifications, not changing the home screen. Now, on this iPad right here, I am running iPadOS 18.1, which means I have access to Apple Intelligence. I've been using the new Reduce Interruptions focus when I'm doing general work like admin tasks or editing. This uses intelligence to decide what you should and shouldn't be notified about. You can add stuff to the Always Allow list if you want, but it does a really great job at blocking generic notifications that you probably don't need to see in a timely fashion. You can check those out on the notification center later. But when I need to know about something, it sends it through. Like if a really important work message comes in, it will notify me about it. This has been replacing a lot of my general use focus modes. Now, I do have a couple of other specific focus modes I am using. One is for writing. I did this so I can turn off the Apple Music recommendation algorithm. When I'm writing, I'll either use dark noise or I like to listen to music that doesn't have any lyrics. The minute lyrics come into play, I get distracted. The other focus mode I use is for filming. When this one is active, it triggers some background shortcuts, like changing the light setup in my office. It also switches my calendar to an everything but secrets focus. This way I don't accidentally leak an embargo or meeting. I always use wallpapers to signify what focus mode is active. I did this by setting up specific lock screens for each mode, and then having the lock screens and home screen wallpaper tied together. One thing I have been enjoying is I've been using the built-in blur feature for the home screen wallpaper. This adds a nice separation between apps and the background when using Stage Manager. To enable this, go into Settings, Wallpaper, pick Customize, and then select Blur. So that's it. That is what's on my iPad home screen. I want to hear from you all. What do you have on your iPad home screen? What's your favorite widgets, apps? Let me know in the comments below. My thanks to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.